The Houthi rebel faction in Yemen warned on Monday of more attacks on Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure, 2 days after strikes that interrupted much of the kingdom's production heightened tensions between Iran and the United States and raised fears of a wider armed conflict. United States officials have said that Iran was responsible for the attacks on Saturday, the most audacious and damaging blow to Saudi Arabia in the 4.5 years of Yemen's civil war, and have cast doubt on whether they were launched from Houthi territory in Yemen. The Americans offered no evidence of Iranian involvement beyond satellite photos of the damage, whose meaning was unclear, and they did not say who was directly involved in carrying out the strikes or from where they were launched. The Trump administration has previously blamed Iran for the actions of the Houthis, and United Nations experts say that Iran has supplied the group with drones and missiles that have greatly expanded its offensive capacity. A Saudi military spokesman, Colonel Turki al-Malki, said at a news conference in Riyadh that Iranian weapons were used in the attacks on Saturday and that they did not originate in Yemen, but he did not provide any specifics, according to Saudi media and news service reports. Iran has denied any involvement in the attacks, and the Houthis insisted on Monday that they had carried out the strikes using drones, while threatening more, although they made no reference to whether Iranian equipment or training played a role. A spokesman for the Houthi military, Brigadier General Yahya Saree, warned companies and foreigners not to be present in the factories that were hit by our strikes because we may target them again at any moment, Al Masirah, the Houthi news organization, reported on Monday. The Houthis can strike at will anywhere in Saudi Arabia, he said, and their actions against the kingdom will expand and be more painful. President Trump, who has made American policy toward Iran markedly more hostile, issued a warning of his own Sunday night and signaled that Washington was seeking Saudi input before a potential military response. There is reason to believe that we know the culprit, he wrote, adding that the military was locked and loaded depending on verification. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called on Saturday for global condemnation of Iran's attacks, and the Energy Secretary, Rick Perry, used similar language on Monday at a conference in Vienna, referring to Iran's attack on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Colonel al-Malki said that the investigation is continuing, and all indications are that weapons used in both attacks came from Iran. The Saudis were seeking to determine where they were fired from, he added. Saudi Arabia is leading the coalition that is fighting the Houthis in Yemen, waging a bombing campaign that has killed thousands, many of them civilians. The war there is considered the world's greatest humanitarian crisis of recent years, displacing millions of people and leaving millions more at risk of starvation. The Houthis claimed to have used 10 drones in the Saturday attack. American officials said that there were 17 points of impact. The rebel group has launched missile and drone attacks into Saudi territory before, but never anything on that scale, or against such vital targets, or so deep into the kingdom, some 500 miles from Yemeni territory. The attacks on Saturday forced the shutdown of facilities at Abqaiq and Quraysh, which process most of the crude oil produced by Saudi Arabia, which supplies about a tenth of the worldwide total. Saudi Arabia and other exporters keep large oil stockpiles. Experts say it is unclear whether the Saudi equipment will be out of commission long enough to affect global oil supplies, but prices rose sharply in the immediate aftermath of the attacks. The Iraqi government said Monday that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had told Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi on Sunday night that the information reviewed by the United States showed that the attacks had not come from Iraqi territory. That would mean the United States does not suspect that Shiite militias in Iraq with ties to Iran are responsible for the attacks. Some of those militias are under the umbrella of Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces, which fought against the Islamic State and whose salaries are paid by Baghdad. The Prime Minister stressed that Iraq's task is to maintain its own security and stability and avoid any step of escalation and to prevent the use of its territory against any neighboring or brotherly or friendly country, the Iraqi statement said. The State Department declined to comment on Mr. Pompeo's call or the official Iraqi statement. The department did not provide its own summary of the call. Tensions between the United States and Iran have increased sharply since last year, when Mr. Trump withdrew from the 2015 deal limiting Iran's nuclear program and reimposed economic sanctions against Iran. This spring, he imposed new sanctions, and Iran, which had continued to abide by the 2015 accord after the United States withdrawal, began stepping back from some of their obligations. In May and June, several tankers were damaged in or near the Strait of Hormuz, in what American officials said were Iranian attacks. Iran has also seized several foreign ships. On Monday, the Iranian Foreign Ministry said that a British-flagged tanker, Stena Impero, which Iran impounded while it sailed near its coast in July, will be released within days. Iran took the ship after British and Gibraltar forces seized an Iranian tanker, which was released last month after more than 6 weeks' detention.